In today's special episode of Zoo Sicily, we're going to bring in dolphins into this area of the park. Well, technically, they're not in the park. If we have a look at a map of the Mediterranean Sea, you can see around Sicily there are quite some spots for dolphins. We're going to focus on the southwest part, as you can see here, and we're going to turn this area into this area, with a wonderful restaurant on top, looking down into the area of the coast. I'm very excited to bring this to you, so let's get this started. Alright, today's video is going to be a little bit differently structured. Since I had so much material, I have to structure that in different parts. And we're going to start with the, well, obvious terraforming part. We had to change this entire area and include a new part of the sea. So you've seen the map a couple of seconds ago. Also, thank you for still being here in the video. Hopefully you stick with me through the entire video. I'm trying to be very precise in what I've done to give you maximum inspiration and explanation at the same time. So remember the map we've looked at the beginning. If you haven't seen that one, make sure to, go back and have a look. So we imagine that this is the part of Sicily where we are on the southwest part, the coast, looking down to Africa, if you will. If you've got very good eyes and you're very high up, you could see. And so we have to adjust this a little bit over here. And we are imagining that this is the part where you look down to. And imagine that this is a very well-known spot for our beloved dolphins. Now, as I've said, they are not really part of the of the zoo because they are living in the free, but more about that in a second. As this is done, now the next part to focus on, obviously, is some rock work, because as you can see over here, as a little hint, this is going to be Sicily, and as you know, I have established a certain look to this whole area in the front with the whitish stones, and forgot again how they are exactly called in English, but these type of stones are very common for this area, and I wanted to make it look a lot more like that. And also, since the very beginning of Planet Zoo, I'm still not a big fan of the very repetitive texture. So if there's anything that I really would love to have improved about the absolutely phenomenal terraforming tool in this game, it's by far the best terraforming editor I have had in a game so far. The quality of the textures do not quite match the quality of the textures that the game offers in general. So I would really love to see a bigger pattern of textures and stuff, but we can somehow get over it with the usage of stones and rock work and stuff like that. The only issue I always have over here is the insane amount of pieces we have to use or abuse for that. So I might say that already. I could have gone a lot more crazy over here. You know that how I did it in Yosemite, but I would love to keep on building a little bit more in this file. So I just did enough to make it look good, but not perfect, but to sell the illusion. The focus should really be on the restaurant, which we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, but this is really important to focus on. Now, next up is some foliage work. As I've said, I wanted to save some performance with the rocks, and so I tried to make sure that this looks like a bit more of a less lush field type of area. So it's not really overgrown too much. We have a lot of open parts, and you've seen I've been checking constantly images in the background. I tried to really match up what Sicily looks like, and I'm still very happy that you guys keep on commenting. That is exactly the same look and vibe that you feel when you're in southern Italy, or especially Sicily itself. I've gotten so many comments from you guys living there that this is all spot on, and honestly, since I haven't been there, this is a great honor to hear that. I mean, obviously, there are quite some similarities to many other areas in the Mediterranean Sea I have been to, but still not exactly this area, so super grateful for all of your comments. But as I've mentioned before, I wanted to ensure that this still looks very believable. So what I did is I tried to take some blueprints, as you can see over here, and I just kind of put them all over here. So we have some points where our eye can focus on to grab some detail, and then we can start developing a more full picture from these little spots, And at the end, I used some grass pieces to really get some depth in, because as you know that the grass that you paint down with the painting tool is super gorgeous if you're close up, but it doesn't really do anything from quite a distance. So you need something that kind of creates some depth, and I will use some grass in a bit. But as always, my very beloved stone trick, if you don't know that one, if you want to get some stones and stuff in your area, but you don't want to sink them all in at once, individually, you can do it at once. So the trick is you basically take those stones and you keep on putting them to the ground, but make sure that you have a land to surface always activated, and you do not move them into the ground with holding shift down, or you can do that if you want some certain effects. Once you've done all of that, you can take the whole group and raise like lower or raise it as you like, and so you can always change how much of the stones should be seen, and hence you gain some control over how much detail you want to have. And also the beauty of that is you create one entire group of one piece of stone, and then you can recolor the same thing afterwards. If you do not feel the same color anymore, you can blend that in a lot nicer. This is the grass piece. I used the exact same technique for that one, just putting it down, make sure it's all aligned, and then sink that in a little bit to not make it too crazy, and then blend that actually in with the painting tool. It's very simple, but as you can see, you are creating a very nice area that is not as crazily detailed as it could be, but it still looks good. Just kind of stealing some of the pieces I've already used here and there, just to get a kind of a little bit details here and there. It's also very important that you blend in a couple of details here and there, just to give the feeling there is more detail. But at a certain point your eye is satisfied, and that's that. Next up in this build is going to be the focus on this upper terrace there, as you can see, where we are going to put down a couple more things before we can actually build it. It has to be supported. I wanted to make it overhanging first, but then I figured it's not exactly what I want, because overhanging might already be too modern in a way. I mean, you can technically still do that with like a very kind of traditional look, but I felt like the bridge we used in the panda area is very underrepresented in this zoo. I still like the design so much that I thought it's good to take, but I needed to straighten that piece up a little, because I wanted to make obviously a lovely area for the people to see, to find a seat later on. And I might already add this. This is going to be a bit more of a more expensive venue, so it's also excluded from the zoo technically. You can't just walk in and get something. You really have to either get a ticket for that, or just make sure that you book a table or something like this. This is, in my imagination, like kind of an in-zoo experience, but you have to book it simply because this view sells well, I guess, in a zoo, so you can use that. And this could also be a lovely venue for later the day, as the zoo may close. You can still get to this point, as we've always talked about. That is a feature of the entire zoo, that this is not only for the zoo itself, but we have a whole story behind that, and it's always important to bring in these little things, and the restaurant is one of those, as kind of a counterpart to our lemur house, which acted as another one, where that we have this wonderful plaza in front of it, which I already said this could also be a nice venue for like an event. This one over here is more like a dining experience, which is not so loud, and we have some animals in here that wouldn't cope well with like a big event, but like a normal restaurant would be okay-ish. We do have the sand cat over here, and we do also have the fennec fox, as I remember correctly, hopefully. Those two are living in here. I still like the idea that we have them in this tiny spot. I think it's a very nice spot. Imagine if, for example, the parents booked a seat, the kids can still roam around and look at some animals, or actually try to catch the sight of a dolphin. I mean, how amazing would that be to have a seat over there and you can see some dolphins living in the wild. As promised, let's quickly talk about exactly this. The dolphins are obviously something that you want to see in an area like that. Like, it's the Mediterranean Sea might not be the most well-known spot for dolphins, but for me personally, I'm not sure if everyone is like that, but it's such a special experience if you see them in the wild. And as well, I have to make a little break. Let's quickly talk about dolphins in general, shall we? I made this video a while ago, I think over a year ago, where we talked about if like citizens and like in general orcas and dolphins, if they would belong in zoos. And to keep it simple, no, I don't think they belong in zoos, but I think they could belong in a zoo game if implemented correctly. If you want to have my whole opinion on that, make sure to watch the video. It's too long to do it in that one, but if there is a certain story around that, like for example like a rescue lagoon, or kind of a whole lagoon experience in which you have them to make them ready for the wildlife again or whatnot, there are ideas to make this, and also do the same as with the polar bear, give them crazy restrictions. However, for this zoo, I didn't want to go even into this discussion, but I wanted to have dolphins in here because they are so tied to the Mediterranean Sea. They're one of the most famous animals for the Mediterranean Sea area anyways, so I wanted to have them in, and we have a beautiful mod for that, obviously. Also, big thanks to Leaf. He actually adjusted the mods just for me, so big thanks to you, mate. I have this updated one in the final walkthrough, so be excited for this one. It's gonna be very short, but also very cool because we have a lovely view from this terrace over here. Now, I have two parts of the terrace because, as I said, you need to book a table in the restaurant, so not everyone would be allowed to just straight up walk into this and annoy the people while standing next to them. So I figured we need also like a viewing platform that is separated from the actual dining experience, and so we have this natural kind of overhang over here, which also gets some support. These are like the support arches we used for the Colosseum, for the lions. Big spoiler ahead, we're gonna change this one. The lions are still... It almost feels like the cat house, the big cat house in Yosemite, which used to be lovely, but at the end I just felt like it's out of place, and it... I just don't feel it, and I think we have to redo it at some point, but it's not going to be too soon, just as a little spoiler. We also have to talk something more about this build, because in the next part of today's video, we're going to talk details. Oh, I'm just so in love with that. Let's focus on this detail part here. I had the idea to make this a dining experience, and I figured, you know what, it has to be one. So I thought, you know, we have these cool pieces from, oh boy, what was that? I think it was actually the Southeast Asia pack. I forgot which one that was, or the tropical pack. No, they are from the tropical pack, and I have never really used them for many things, but I figured this makes up for like a very cool deco. Excuse me. It's been something I've been looking forward to do, and it just turned out so beautifully. It's a tiny bit of an overkill, but this is simply due to the way the pieces are designed. They have a tiny bit too much wave in them. How do I explain that the right way? They are not flat, so they look like fabric hanging down somewhere, and I'm going to use them on a straight plate, which physically is not really correct. Physics had another idea. They should be a little bit more straight. So I ended up doing it still. As I said, it looks like a dining experience now at the end. I'm quite happy with it. I might actually change the color of this one a little bit more. I forgot the name in English, by the way, but is it kind of a table carpet? I forgot. That's a German name, literal translated. I'm extremely sure that this is not the correct way to pronounce that, or to call it actually. But yeah, we're gonna put some candles on, some typical Mediterranean plates and stuff, and yeah, just making it look like a bit more as a proper, more expensive, more real restaurant, if you will, and also implemented obviously the cooking experience. And this one over here is something I wanted to do again in a while. We have our winery that already has like a kind of self-service area. I imagine that this one over here has no self-service area, but what it does have is a kind of very cool yeah, is it salad bar or is it a fruit bar? Let's call it a fruit bar. I think we've got more fruits in here. Speaking of the different form factor over here, you can tell the solution I used for that one is a different one. I just at the end ended up using plaster pieces. To be fair, they look quite decent, but I did not want to do that for the other tables. I just didn't feel it. It looked too plain and too straight, so I kept the way I did it. I kept the first iteration because I liked it more. But yes, you can see it looks very neat. It looks very cool, and I think it gets this Mediterranean vibe across, and that's all I wanted to do with this one over here. I don't want to call it rudilistic. It's not as far, you know, but it's I think it really sells the idea, and it's adding so much value to this build specifically. It's looking really good, and you could have gone a little bit more in detail, especially with the more decals and stuff, but I'm quite happy with how it looks. We will be doing a suppathon this afternoon, starting at 7 p.m. Central European Summertime. And depending on how generous people are and how much they want to sub, there is a good chance we will end up in Sicily again. And this might then be the point where we're going to fix some of the issues. If you want to see the full subathon plan, you can find it either on my YouTube wall or in my Discord, or maybe even on social, on Twitter and on Instagram's that other platform, right? Yeah, so I will have shared that hopefully yesterday evening, because I will have to do it after the recording. Yeah, time is crazy. But yeah, just as a little side note, and we might end up doing a couple of more detailings here in this park. And I'm also looking at a stream in the near future where we're doing all the backstage thingies in Zoo Sicily, which is still open, and we have to fix it now because otherwise I will never do it. But yeah, so we are almost at the end of the time lapse, and I think you got a good overview of what we've done, but there's some kind of little tweaks I did in between. So let's jump right into the real-time part. Alright, we starting at the Fennec Fox area, and now as you can tell, if you've seen the last video obviously, you will know that this was a little bit more bare over here. This is also not included in the time-lapse. As you can tell, I have actually opted for a tree in this spot because it all just... it was all still too open, and this is not how it is in these areas. You still need trees and stuff to cast some shade and stuff, even though this one might not be the best shade option that you have over here. But yeah, I like this a lot because it doesn't really give away what exactly is... you will find over here, I should say. We still use these wonderful little tree thingies over here as if they were grown. We took them over from here. And on the left-hand side, this is where you go to the restaurant. You do have the access to the seating area over here, but this is technically not where you go in. I mean, you could like order over here, but the idea for the restaurant, like the game's idea, not ours, but the game's idea is that you go in here. Haven't done anything in here. As I said, this is something I will fix later on. I can even imagine just putting a door here. We have some restrooms that lead into this way. We are still missing a door over there, but I can very well imagine that we're going to close that off and just imagine that we have a counter right over here. So as you can go over here, you can see the people prepare, but I just like it, I just like the way it is. I put a door over here, and if we go around, you can see there are some seating options in the back as well, even though these might not be the nicest ones. Technically they are still okay, but my wife would never opt for them. Pretty much sure, and they wouldn't. But I mean, just look at this table over here. Just wouldn't you love to have that? Oh, one side note though, by the way, just real quick, this little barrier in the back is something I need to have, otherwise the dolphins are going to escape, which is a bit of a pinnacle. It's a little bit of a pain, but I have to do it that way. They still do escape because they're based on the otter, as far as I know, and so they can jump, which is weird. I thought they were based on the seal, and I designed it the way for a seal. I still have to find a solution for this, but just look at this. Look at the view over here. Just gonna speed up the game real quick, hoping that there is a dolphin coming around. You can see one in the back here. There just was just someone jumping on the right top hand there. Love it. Oh, look at that. There's a dolphin swimming near us. Oh, look at that. So just imagine. Oh, just look. Wait, I just want to know. There you go. Okay, so just imagine you're standing over here somewhere, or like sitting maybe over here. Just imagine sitting on, let's say, this chair. You're sitting on this chair, and then you just turn your head and you do see this in the wild. Oh, just imagine how cool that would be. Just having that dolphin swimming over there in the waters, in the free waters, in the lagoon. Ah, that would be such a cool, cool experience. Stop doing that. I haven't fixed this. Anyways, yeah, so this is that, and now let's just turn over here to the viewing platform. Just gonna do a little shortcut over here. You may remember these wonderful telescopes. These are straight out of Yosemite, and I just love them so much. They just kind of survived for so many years, and I was like, yeah, I have to have them in here. And so yeah, just imagine standing over here using those, and then bam, zoom in, and there you can see the dolphin in the wild again. I'm just madly in love with this build. I am just absolutely freaking amazed. Let me just quickly just fly out one more time, and then we call that a day for today. But just look at the change we have done to this area. What was once a bare bone little whateverness of this park, which where we didn't know how to end this area, it now is a very nice, very logic, very great looking, basically border of the zoo, and I absolutely love it. I mean, even if we zoom out a little to give you the full context, this is the part I added. Yeah, as I said, I have to find a solution for this. It's kind of annoying that it doesn't work the way I hoped it was, but we're gonna figure it out anyways. But you can tell the zoo now feels so much more well integrated on this park, like part of the zoo. It just kept being so annoying, but now it is nice, and I have a good solution for this part too. You see the ugly pathing going down to whatever the entrance is. We're gonna cover this up. It's not super important because, as I said, the dolphins are living in the wild. This is our idea behind that, so you wouldn't need like a habitat. But yeah, so I'm rambling. Let's call it a day because I want to keep it short and crisp for you. This is what we've done. I'm a big fan, and I hope you guys are too. Oh, just look at all that. Oh, it's just looking so cool. Yeah, hope you liked it. If you did like it, please consider liking the video, apparently. But also, if you haven't subscribed yet, or maybe if YouTube decided to unsubscribe you, which I was told happens a lot lately, make sure to check if you're subscribed or not. And if you like the content, please do consider subscribing. Many thanks. And also, if you want to jump into a live stream where I'm building In Planet Zoo, but also other games and stuff, and doing a subathon tonight, make sure to jump over and join me. Hopefully during a long stream. It's up to you, but I'm looking forward to that one. And again, infos are in my Discord on the YouTube wall and blah, blah, blah. See you hopefully later. If not, I see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.